Hi, everyone. This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News tonight, and let's talk about it. I got a very cool guest, DatBoiVictor, tonight. You may know him from TikTok. He's on YouTube. But before we jump into it, I'm going to encourage you all, please go blacktnews.com. Check out content that I have on my website, different articles that I've written. There's a lot of cool things that I recently talked about. There's an article on critical race theory that I dropped not too long ago about how these people deny that it's in schools, but it's obviously in schools. And one of the founders claimed it wasn't, of critical race theory, but then something just dropped today that obviously proved that she knows that that's a lie. So check out that article. Please share it. Check out different merchandise I have on the site. I got this cool goat hoodie that I'm actually wearing right now. You can get that in a t-shirt. It's in multiple colors. You can get this Denounce White Supremacy, Defeat Joe Biden shirt with a list of his racist atrocities on the back. And also got the I Am Not the Victim You're Looking For shirt. And also I got the You Are Not That Special shirt, but I also gotten cute little mugs. Go trigger a leftist in your office today. So I want to go ahead and jump into it. So I'm going to bring in our guest today. How are you doing, Victor?
I am well. Thank you for having me on today.
I'm excited. So I said on TikTok, I'm particularly excited because I don't have a lot of confidence in our youth today. So
I don't blame you. I really don't.
Which is funny because people comment on my videos and they say, "Oh, you give me so much hope for the youth." I'm like, I'm 32. I'm not as young as you think.
I mean, but still, at the same time, that's you are of the younger generation. There's no question.
I am, but people usually think I'm like 25 or something. So I'm
It's
like,
quite
I'm
the compliment, though, right?
Yeah, it is quite the compliment. But I'm concerned because I keep seeing a lot of really bad takes. We talked about this a little before I went live, and we're gonna watch a couple of those bad takes today and talk about it a little bit. So do you believe that a lot of the people just believe genuinely the things that they're saying, or how much do you believe is playing to a crowd and an ideology?
Ooh, I don't know. I really wish that I could say confidently that they don't actually believe this stuff, but I'm not certain anymore. It's hard sometimes whenever you look at it. You can say, how can someone possibly be this dumb? Like, how can somebody possibly, like, it almost seems like they're actively trying to come up with bad ideas, bad takes. How about we revive communism that's killed hundreds of millions of people? How about it's hard for me to really wrap my head around the idea that someone genuinely believes that.
Yeah.
And we've had examples of creators who have come out or it has come out about them, right, that they were doing it for money. They promote this TikTok stuff, they get into the political world, go viral, and they try and make some money off of it. I don't know. As sad as it is, I think that they believe it. I think that a lot of them really do believe, whether they're historically illiterate, whatever it may be, that's the reason that they believe these bad takes. I think they believe what they're saying, unfortunately.
Well, they do like to indoctrinate you guys. And some of these videos, you're 22, correct?
Yes, ma'am, correct. 22.
I know Victoria is what, like 25?
22.
She's 22.
22.
Oliver Niehaus is 18. And I can't remember how old is a typical Democrat.
Harry is, I think he's 18, 19, somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to watch videos from all those people I named today.
Oh, no.
All those people I named.
I wish you would have warned me. I only have so many brain cells left. I can't just be throwing them away like this.
I'm sorry. Well, since we already talked about people who came out and they weren't genuinely saying their opinions, it was doing stuff for money, Oliver Niehaus is one of those people, and he did delete his account or suspended it, and then he came back, which I had heard that, but I didn't know that he was like freshly making new stuff. So this is one that here's your brain cells. I'm sorry. Here we go.
A story came out recently of Chicago schools passing out condoms to 10-year-old kids. So apparently a 10-year-old is too young to have access to a condom, but a 10-year-old rape survivor is not too young to be a mother. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense.
Yes, Oliver, make that video make sense.
Oh gosh.
What? Oh, talk about conflating, not similar issues. Good Lord.
Well, my first reaction is I think that's pretty bold for someone who is outed and exposed for going
Mm-hmm.
after young girls. So, a lot of these ladies, if anyone on the left would hear this, a lot of these guys who are I'm so pro-choice are doing that to appease you, but that's because well, some of them are straight up predators. When this kid is a predator, but some people just do it because not because they care about you and your feelings and your womanhood or whatever. It's because they don't want a relationship with you. They don't want to be close with you. They don't want to build something with you, and that's why they're willing to say, "Hey, if you get knocked up in the relationship, I don't want to stay," because a child will bind you for at least 18 years.
Yep.
So, these guys are not gentlemen when they say, your body, your choice. They are not gentlemen when they do that.
No, I don't believe they have your best intentions at heart by any means. No way. But like you said, I mean, a dumb, gutsy, whatever you want to call it. If you're that guy who's been ousted for that thing, and this is one of your comeback videos, is you're like, yes, we need to have 10-year-olds.
Having condoms.
Maybe there was something else you should have talked about.
Like I didn't know you're going down
one.
to 10, Oliver. Like that's really young.
Hang on. Yeah, that I mean I'd never seen that video before. You might have been able to tell by my face whenever that I'm sitting there like
your face was pretty funny when he came back. Yeah. And the if from his argument that a young woman at 10 would be obviously too young to be a mother, like everyone agrees with that. Everyone absolutely agrees with that, and no one would want to make a scenario when that would be possible. And obviously he inferred rape in the rape in that situation where that would happen. But why would you? If 10 is too young to be a mother in that terrible circumstance, why would 10 be okay for a young man to go out and be a father? Because if you're giving the condoms, you are encouraging people to do it. Just saying be safely. Which a 10-year-old, you can't lay that sort of responsibility on a 10-year-old. So
no,
you gotta make your generation make sense to me, man. I don't get it.
I can't. I cannot defend my own generation, but I will say, well, I'll defend my generation. I take that back. I can't defend certain people from my generation because my generation is harboring both some of the most intelligent people that are out there and some of, as we just saw, the stupidest people that are out there. Because there's a lot. So I think I'm technically lumped into Gen Z. I believe is where I'm at, something like that. I was born in '99, so I think it's Gen Z.
You little baby.
I know. But anyway, I was born in '99, so within that general age group, you have what is for their age demographic the most conservative group of youth, and I think it was the last 45 or 50 years. So there's definitely the outliers. There definitely are the Olivers, people like that. But there's some of us out there, right? There's still hope. Yeah. There is still hope out there for the young generation. There's a lot of people that are moving, movers and shakers that are coming up in the younger generation. So I don't think that there's no hope by any means. But if I watched too much of Oliver, I may be convinced that there was no hope.
well, you make good content. You respect and love the Constitution and freedom and liberty and our rights, and so you make good content. So you do make me hopeful. But you got a lot that you're bumping up against, man.
There's, I think we might be outnumbered by a little bit, but hopefully we can make it work. We can pass that torch of freedom on to the next generation. I hope it doesn't die with my generation. I'll do what I can. All right.
So I'm gonna play a funny one because that one was just like
all right.
Brain cells. So this one's funny.
Mr. President, I was wondering if you could address rumors that you are currently selling drugs. My sources are saying he got that fire shit for the Lolo and it do be bussin'. Can you confirm? So you got that?
I got them.
Is it as good as everyone says?
Think about it.
Right, but like on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say?
1.9 trillion.
So, like, when you try to party?
This week.
I mean, maybe this weekend. I'm kind of busy.
Now.
I guess maybe is that where Hunter Biden got his habits was.
You know what? You never know. You never know. And you know, when people talk about, I'm not like I know like there's a lot of like black conservatives who talk about the drug laws and the 1994 crime bill. I'm not really big on. I feel like drugs are not it's not a victimless crime myself, but when I think about like Joe Biden and how intense he was with it versus at the time having a son that used like that, and I remember reading an article about them like wiping or protecting his record and other stuff like that. So he's had a problem for a long time. So it's kind of like, why could you not at least be sympathetic to other people in that same situation?
Yeah, I mean, while his son was using, he was writing a bill that would put however many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in jail for lesser offenses than what his son was doing. You know, I mean, talk about a hypocrite, but.
Did you see more things that came out about Hunter Biden's laptop woes and the hookers and
Yeah, I did. So like I said, I've been traveling, so I haven't been as plugged in as normal. But I did see Don Jr. shared something that made me laugh. It said it was a bar graph, and it had two categories. It had the sons of every other United States president, and then Hunter Biden, and the number was laptops stolen. You know, number of laptops, our number of laptops lost or stolen is, you know. Hunter Biden's way up here, everybody else is zero. I was like, man, could you imagine if this was like Trump or any like DeSantis, any known conservative leader, and their son was smoking Parmesan cheese off of the carpet and then talking about it? Like, could you imagine the repercussions of this? And the mainstream media, make no mistake, they knew about this prior to the election and they kept it silent. But you know, I think the American people would have liked to know about the cheese addict, the guy smoking the Parmesan cheese.
You know, when you mentioned Parmesan cheese, at first I thought it was code, and then I remembered that it was true.
No, it was actually just cheese. Like, it was just, he's digging around in his carpet like, oh, this looks whitish. I mean, totally ridiculous.
I can't imagine losing 3 laptops like that. Someone actually did break into my car once and steal a laptop from me, and I was like, that was in Detroit. I was devastated when that happened because I had so much that was on it, and I just can't imagine. And I certainly didn't have sex tapes with Squirtle watching on my stuff, so I can't even imagine losing things like that. But the crazy thing about his conversations with the hooker and them talking about the Russians taking his laptop, and he's like, what if they leak my sex tape and then I won't be able to get as much money for it? And the hooker's like, why don't you leak it first?
The big brain idea. That's
oh my
crazy.
gosh.
The whole situation is so bizarre.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for everyone who's popping in. If you guys have any questions, you can drop them in the comments, or any shout outs or anything like that. Just drop the comments. And if you guys want to share the live, please share the live. We're going to go ahead and watch another one. Oh my gosh. Here is typical Democrat.
So about a day ago, my uncle died of COVID-19. He was in his 60s and he was admitted to the hospital, and about 19 days later, after being on a ventilator, he died of COVID-19. He was anti-vax and he didn't think COVID was that bad. Now thankfully, I wasn't that close with him, but members of my immediate family were. And I'm not coming on here telling you this for sympathy or for anyone to feel bad for me, but rather to let you know that COVID is real and it actually affects people and families. Every day we have around 500 people die from COVID-19, but behind every one of those numbers is a person, a family, and a story who didn't have to die. But right now, the overwhelming majority of people dying are anti-vax or haven't been vaccinated. Just like, unfortunately, my uncle. Now folks, I don't care if you hate me or you love me. I don't want your family to be next. I don't want you to be the next one to lose a relative because they weren't vaccinated. So please, I'm begging you to get vaccinated. Get your family members vaccinated. Get your friends vaccinated. So we no longer have people dying of something that's preventable.
Now, I know you saw this because when I was getting it, I saw your comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only so many things we can say in the characters in the comments. So have at it, sir. What's your reaction when you first saw that?
That video, quite literally, I'm not using this figuratively, my jaw dropped whenever I watched that video, because I couldn't, Now I checked the time to make sure that I was correct and all this guy. He said yesterday, whenever he was making that video, his uncle was not in the ground yet, and he's posting a TikTok ragging on his uncle for being anti-vax and dying. And I was like, for real, dude? Is there anything that's you might just give it a little while? Is there anything off limits for you? And I think his namesake is hilarious. A typical Democrat. Yes. Perfect. A typical Democrat you are. I mean, his uncle, he's using the death of his uncle, sensationalizing the death of his own family member to be like, oh yeah, what the heck? I mean, I'm not kidding, my jaw dropped whenever I read that. I thought it was so disrespectful. And maybe my guess is he probably wasn't close to this uncle or something like that, to where he wasn't. I mean, sorrow.
He said thankfully.
Yeah,
I wasn't close to him.
No sorrow in this kid's eyes. He's just throwing his dead uncle under the bus to make a point and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Wow.
When I just saw this today, and so I was like lying on my bed, and when he said thankfully I wasn't that close to him, I had like a visceral reaction. I just couldn't believe it. I started flopping around like a fish, like having like a seizure, and like at 360 degree just of the absurdity of it all. Like, here's the thing. When they say like, we just want to protect you, that's why we want you to we don't want anyone else to die. And I'm like, this is your uncle. Granted, you're not close to him, but people you know are related. You're related to him. People you know are grieving him, and you go on and make something political like this. And you should, if he's trying to show everyone like, hey, we care about you. That he wasn't solemn or anything in that video. So how are we as strangers who he criticizes all the time supposed to take any sort of sincerity when they say, hey, wait, we just want to protect you? Like, no, you want to control people.
Yep.
You like the control, and you're afraid. You like the fear porn, whatever it does to your brain, and you resent the fact that other people aren't living in it, and you want to control them. Like Yoda's, I don't know how into Star Wars you are, but he said fear is a path to the dark side. He said, fear leads to anger leads to hate leads to suffering. It's all related. People trash those sequels, but there was some good stuff. I mean, the prequels, but there's some good stuff.
I thought you were gonna say the sequel.
No, the sequel. That was a slip up. I did not like the sequels at all.
Freudian slip. Yeah, no, the prequels were good. They were good. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but yeah, I mean, I was like, as you said, I mean, that's his uncle, right? Could you imagine? I'm trying to figure out what went on in that household. Maybe his mom or dad comes to him and says, "Hey, Harry, your uncle's dead," and he goes, "Oh, I got a great idea." Pulls out his phone, starts making a TikTok. "Hey, my uncle died." What? No sincerity at all. And these people don't care about your best interest. They want to keep this fear mongering and using this kind of stuff. Companies can actually get in trouble. I don't know if you've ever followed Dr. Naputi or anything like that. I myself didn't follow him super closely, but he was a chiropractor out of St. Louis, Missouri, really well known. He was promoting, I think, like vitamin D3, vitamin C, several other kind of like natural things to just boost your immune system during all this COVID and stuff like that. Well, he's being charged federally right now for sensationalizing and using fear to sell his product. That's what they said, right? That's not what he did. He said this isn't that big of a deal, but here's how you can naturally protect yourself. He's being charged federally for that. If that's not the charge there, sensationalizing and using fear to sell a product. What are they doing with the COVID-19 vaccine? Yeah. I mean, these ad campaigns, oh, you or someone you know is going to die of it, blah, blah, blah. Is that not doing the exact same thing that they won't let a guy sell vitamin C for?
Yeah. I saw another video of Oliver when he was saying that he was praising San Francisco for having harsher lockdowns than New York. And he's like, well, you have to protect everyone because people 12 and under can't get it. And I'm like, and people 12 and under aren't really going to die from COVID. Like, I saw a pediatrician talking about myocarditis, and they were claiming, that it wasn't really that big of a deal, people getting it from the vaccine, and people can get it, young people can get it just from COVID. And there was a mother in the comments that said, I'm so scared for my 4-year-old. I'm thinking about putting them in a clinical trial so they can get the vaccine. And the pediatrician's like, yeah, go ahead and do that. It seemed like a crazy leftist sort of pediatrician, but I was floored, and I just comment under. I'm like, I'm not trying to say that something can't happen to your 4-year-old if they get COVID. But however, there have been 44 deaths in ages 0 through 4 through the entire pandemic. So,
Yeah, wow.
like, don't put your child in a clinical trial. Like, people
Yeah.
have no perception of what the numbers really are. It's just fear nonstop, and I don't understand the push for people in your age range and younger, where COVID has not been a serious issue as far as, especially as fatalities, and we don't know what all the long term effects could be if you catch it, but we don't know what's going to be the long term effects, if any, like from the vaccine.
Yeah, no joke, no joke. And it's control. I mean, that's the answer. That's the only thing I can come up with is it's human nature. And human nature is people want power. They found an avenue to get more power. They're using fear. They're using COVID. They're using lockdowns. They're using the vaccine, all of this kind of stuff as an avenue to gain more control. And they need everybody to go along with it. They need all that. And if you don't fit their narrative, they'll label you a science denier or a conspiracy theorist or a this or a that, because you're not falling in line. They don't have control over you because you're continuing to live your life. You're continuing to question authority, which is a good thing, by the way. And they don't like that. They don't like that people are pushing back, that people are taking control of their own lives, not crawling on their hands and feet like some sort of a, subject of the crown. We're still free people here, and we don't have to do something just because you tell us to, but they want control. That's what it is. They want control. This whole thing is designed, it's an exercise in gaining control.
It's not an exercise. They did it. They know.
Yeah.
They know
It's the whole workout.
They know how far they could go. I was, after the January 6th incident, I was talking to somebody, and they claimed that people were just so upset because they believed everything was just, and they had come back, and they said they didn't go inside the Capitol, but they were like, on the lawn and not the, wherever I guess Trump was for like the rally. And so they said when they came back home, they kept running into people who were pro-Trump and were like, so they were kind of talking like people were ready to do something. And I'm just like, no, they're not. I'm like, people were hauled up in their houses all this time during COVID, taking it from the government. I'm like, I don't believe people are about to just have a revolution. Good for Trump. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I'm like, I was in a lot of ways, and I didn't want anyone to have like a revolution or anything. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I was just disappointed with how much people took the whole entire time.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of inclined to agree with you. I was there on January 6th as well. I was there myself. I didn't go in anything like that, but I was there, and I do get the sentiment that a lot of people shared from all that of But what I will say, and obviously nobody's going to advocate for like some sort of revolution or violent action or anything like that, but just as a historical, political study, you can only push a society so far, right? You have people who, there is a percentage of the population that you could literally have them crawl physically, not even like, but literally crawl on their hands and knees. There's nothing that they won't do. They will literally do whatever the government says without end. There's no limit to what they'll do. But the rest of society, the pendulum can only go so far so fast before there is a violent correction where it swings back really rapidly. And on little microcosms of that, Obama brought about Trump. There's no confusion there. That's an example of, as we as a country, too much change. We moved too far, and the pendulum swung back and gave us Trump. Now, I think he won a second election, but maybe not everyone would agree with me. I think that he should have won that, but you could even make the argument that Biden, assuming you believe it was a fair election, was a pendulum correction from Trump. I mean, everything you ever watch, there's going to be the pendulum swinging back and forth. And I think there absolutely is, from a historical perspective, a breaking point where people will only crawl for so long before they'll stand up. I just don't know where that line is, right? That's the question. How long can people be treated like subjects before they stand up and realize they're a citizen? I don't know. I would have thought by now, you sure would have thought by now, all of this stuff that's going on, people would wake up to this a little bit.
Well, I wonder how much more people will take, because I feel like mandates, even if Trump was like, we're going to do mandatory vaccine, I'd be like,
oh, no.
Fighting.
No.
So I'm not against vaccines. I don't plan on taking the COVID one, but and I don't take the flu shot. I don't know if you could convince me really, because I'm just one of those, I'd rather not. Like, and it's not even deeper than that. It's not like I'm not
Yeah.
reading ingredients. I'm not.
No.
I'm just like I just rather not. And
I
so
just don't want to. And you know what? I'll tell you this. That's reason enough. You're a free woman in a free country. That's all the reason you need.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain everything. You can just say, I don't want to. Oh, that's all you need. You don't need a whole, that's all it is. I don't want to.
But it really bothers me. Like, there's plenty of people who are like, I'm gonna wait and see what happens to you, and those people are the most rational people to me. And it bugs me that people act like those people are crazy. And but now people, they're forcing it so much. It is creepy. But I'm so against mandatory vaccination. The government should not have that kind of power. And you can look back to the Tuskegee experiments, which we're just going to give you free health care. Like, no, you're observing because you want to see the side effects of untreated syphilis in black people.
We're going to give you free health care and syphilis.
So, like, it's just a vaccine. Like, it's just, we just want to give you free stuff. Like, no, there's always something too. I heard someone say they learned in marketing school, if something is free, that means you're the product.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
But you don't even have to go back that far. The fact that we have so many elected officials that believe or will push that abortion is just healthcare, and they'll totally ignore an entire human being for whatever reasons and benefits they get from Planned Parenthood and being a eugenicist or whatever. But the point is that they're willing to kill babies for their benefit. And if they're willing to do that to an innocent little child, what would they do to you?
No kidding. No kidding at all.
But back to before I play another video, I did want to go back to the point of like the election and touch on fairness, I suppose, because even if I think so many people are wrapped up in like Dominion and other questions about things like that, I think we're missing a lot of other things. Like, even if you say like there was no kind of fraud like that, how fair can we have a system if we have the press who would like limit the oldest paper in the country for reporting true things?
Yep.
If we have big tech corporations who do coincide with the government, because you see them trying to pressure them now with like what they can and can't say with COVID. So let's not act like they don't have some kind of relationship when some of them leave to go work for Kamala or leave Kamala to go work for the big tech. Like, we can't act like they don't have some kind of relationship with the government, but they'll limit speech that way. That Zuckerberg will donate so much money. The New York Times put out an article saying how they fortified the election, and they're like, we did it to save democracy. Like, no, you interfered. So there's a lot of other levers that we need to talk about and discuss it. And so from whatever way you look at it, are we living in a free and fair society? I don't know if that's like everyone can go out and vote, but people talk about voter suppression. We have more people, I think, have an issue with people being intimidated to vote.
Yeah, well, might be. And to your point, what you were talking about in the world of political campaigning and fundraising and donations, those are called in-kind donations, where they may not give you a check, but they give you 50 hours of airtime, or they, like the New York Post, CNN, Twitter, everything, all of these different companies, these social media, these news outlets donated to Biden and all of the Democrats immeasurable amounts of in-kind donations, where they even said in that New York Times article, they called themselves a cabal. They called themselves this little group of people who put all of that's an in-kind donation, which is it's not legal, right? So there's a reason they're not all in jail for what they did. But my goodness, you and I have a cap. We have a monetary cap on how much we can donate to a certain political candidate. But in-kind donations, the sky's the limit. So all of these different companies and all that stuff, they all grouped together and gave infinite amounts of in-kind donations to Biden and the Democrats in the 2020 election. I mean, that's like you were saying, you don't even have to invoke the name fraud. You don't even have to get to that point or Dominion or anything like that. Already right there, you've got something that kind of raises some eyebrows. And that's just surface level. That's the tip of the iceberg style stuff. And I think that there is a lot below it. And I think that we deserved a day in court. We, the American people, should have had a day in court where we can have everything presented and we can put it behind us. Now we're always kind of going to have this question mark. We're always going to wonder, well, what else, what really happened? What truthfully happened in November of 2020? Who really is ever going to know? Because we never got our day in court.
Some of the the lawsuit that made on like the big one where the different states were suing. They took from a lawsuit that happened in Michigan, and one of my friends was actually part of that suit. She worked for the Secretary of State retired from there, and after I talked to so many people who don't think, and people who were like there at TFC Center and other kind of stuff, and so I tried to be really open-minded about a lot of things. She told me some stuff that freaked me out, but that just some long-term systemic stuff, like people didn't deal with like Detroit, for example, with a lot of different issues they've had throughout the years, not just this year, 2016, and just so on. And even like our Secretary of States that have been consistently Republican until now, I mean, for out some decades now, but they just didn't want to mess with Detroit because they didn't want to be called racist. I'm not even kidding.
I believe it.
And she's not the only person I heard that from. So there's just a lot wrong with our system. There's just so much.
No doubt about that.
So since we're talking about democracy, I know you have seen this video because I did see you stitch it with Victoria talking about the recall.
Hi, please watch and share this video. It's super important. The current governor of California, Governor Newsom, is currently facing a recall election. If you're an eligible voter in California, you will be receiving a mail-in ballot. It is incredibly important that you vote no to recall Gavin Newsom. Regardless of what side of the political spectrum you fall on, this recall is inherently anti-democratic. And I'll explain why. There are two questions. The first one, do you want to recall Gavin Newsom? The second question is, who would you like to replace Gavin Newsom with? If more than 50% of people vote to recall Newsom, then whoever has the most votes in the second question will be the new governor. Even if there were less votes for that person than there were to keep Newsom in office. The crises that California is facing right now between homelessness and the COVID-19 pandemic will only be made worse by a Republican governor. Additionally, appointments would be left up to that Republican governor. I pray to God that nothing happens to Dianne Feinstein. She's a Democratic senator. But if something did happen and we had a Republican governor, it would be up to him to appoint a new senator, which would leave us with a Republican majority in the Senate. Please, for the love of God, vote no on the recall.
Okay, so I got a question for you. What about anything that she said was anti-democratic?
Nothing. That's the that's the reality, right? So what I think normally, so maybe some people disagree with me here. I don't think Victoria is dumb. I actually don't think that she's dumb. I think that she is smarter than people give her credit for, but she slipped up there. I think that she is just genuinely kind of a bad person and promotes horrible nonsense like this, like hyper-partisan nonsense. She didn't have a problem with it's not anti-democratic. It just isn't going to go her way. She gave it up there at the end. She said, well, this is going to, a Republican could get in office and then Dianne Feinstein could be replaced with a Republican. That's what it all boiled down to. Is it's a partisan issue for her. She wasn't complaining about the state of California's recall laws that are in accordance with its state constitution. She had no gripe with those prior to this. As soon as it might affect her in a partisan way, where the Democrat leadership in the state might get a little bit topsy-turvy and be replaced with a Republican, that's when she said it was anti-democratic. She wasn't on this horse before the recall. She didn't care at all about her state laws and how they affected any of that kind of stuff. She didn't say that they were anti-democratic until the moment that it was going to negatively affect someone that she wanted to stay in office, or a Democrat. She wants a Democrat to stay in office. And she gave herself away there at the end. She showed that she's hyper-partisan. If she would have been on this train for the last year and saying, hey, the California recall laws are terrible and I think we should rewrite them, that's entirely different than saying that a vote is anti-democratic. I mean, is that not an oxymoron? And I wonder, she did stitch me back of the video. She stitched me back and basically just said the exact same thing that she reiterated. She just reiterated what her first video was.
She didn't even make a point?
No, no. I was kind of hoping, I was actually a little bit dumbfounded here. I thought maybe that upon shooting the video twice, that maybe something would have connected whenever she said it all again. When she made that same point again, I thought maybe she would connect the dots that saying that a vote is anti-democratic makes you sound a little bit dumb. I thought maybe that she'd connect the dots, but it didn't happen. She just reiterated the same thing and published it again. And I was like, are you good? Like, are you all right up there?
Oh boy. So California, these people are so funny because I remember, and I know people can't remember all the way back to 2008, but I remember when like gay marriage was on the ballot, And I was very surprised that gay marriage went down in California. I was like, oh my gosh, people's more conservative than what I thought. It was like California,
By a big
I'm
margin,
like,
too.
California. So then they're like, oh my gosh, so surprised. So they had to take all the way up to the Supreme Court because they don't believe, I guess, in one person, one vote with that, because that was like a democratic decision. So that went to the Supreme Court. So then Trump got elected, correct, in 2016, and so they're all mad about the Electoral College, and so then they start flooding in letters to electors. Now I was almost an elector, and
Wow.
yeah, I could have won the election for it, but I had a miscalculation. But
Aw.
it's for the best, because when all those letters came in, I was like, my sister who I live with would probably be freaking out about all the mail. And there's somebody I knew, his name was Mike Panarin. He made it on like Fox News. They did stories and stuff about him because he actually did get like a threatening letter.
Oh.
From being in the electors. So and some of the people were actually like taking the letters at Republican meetings and having like dramatic readings. So, so a lot of these people were being mocked, but most of them were from New York and California, begging these people in Michigan and all around the country, but I'm from Michigan. They're begging these people to change their vote, to abandon their duties, to to cast the electoral vote for the person who won. But Trump won the popular vote in our state. So the will of the people for our state had a say, and it was Trump. And these people, they don't like one person, one vote anymore when it comes to the will of the people in Michigan. And they think their California ideas should supersede what the people of Michigan said. And I was there the day we cast the vote. And oh my, people were so crazy. Like people are beating on the doors, butchering, singing "We Shall Overcome," but all the people out there were white, and we had minorities inside because we had Mike Panarin. He's Armenian, and we had a father and a daughter who were black casting the ballots together. We had someone who's Hispanic. So we had minorities in there who were actually casting the electoral votes, and we had Black Republicans in there, Chinese, I worked in the Michigan Republican Party. Someone who's Filipino worked at the Michigan Republican Party, Hispanic. We just had more diversity in the room. The people were protesting, and they're like saying, "We shall overcome." I'm like, you're trying to supersede. I worked for this, me, a black woman. I got the result I wanted, and you should live with it. So it was, but they wanted to supersede my voice.
Yeah. Well, they pick and choose when they want to call something anti-democratic. I've said it a million times, and I'll say it 1,000,001 times. If it wasn't for double standards, the left would have no standards at all. They just they pick and choose. Oh, that sounds anti-democratic today. And then, like they said contesting the election results. Whenever that happened for the 2020 election, whenever you had senators step forward and contest the slates of electors, they said that's anti-democratic. Well, they've done that every year, like over and over. So they pick and choose. If it's a partisan issue, they say, well, this is anti-democratic. That's like one of their new things that they go to. They can't figure out how to like go and be against something. It's either racist or anti-democratic.
Showing your ID to vote is anti-democratic.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So I can't do it, California. They're thinking they're like, it wasn't anti-democratic when Gavin Newsom decided that restaurants had to do one thing and then he went to the French Laundry. Like, the consent of the governed is very important to our system.
Yep.
It's very vital. But they don't care about those things. They don't care about those things.
They are. If there's one thing you can bet all of your money on and feels pretty secure, it's that liberals are always hypocrites. Just like what you said about how he banned the dining, and then he goes and he's busted doing it himself. Always hypocrites. Always hypocrites.
No. Why do you think it is that so many people don't care about that though?
They just don't know. They don't hear about it, right? So whenever a Republican is a hypocrite, which, make no mistake, there's plenty of hypocrite Republicans, but whenever there's a hypocritical Republican, it makes the news cycle. It plays in every airport on CNN, and it plays here and it plays there. It's constantly in the news cycle. You have to actually be tuned in, like actively paying attention proactively to find out whenever a Democrat does something wrong. I mean, for example, the guy Cuomo up in New York. I'm sure that if that would have been DeSantis, can you imagine the difference in coverage? Had DeSantis, I mean, it would have been the story of the millennia had DeSantis been accused by his attorney general and all that kind of stuff. With Cuomo, they're like, oh well, this might just check this out there, and then that's it. That's it. So you have to be 10 times as engaged to find out what the left does wrong. So the average person, as unfortunate as it is, most people just don't care that much. They have jobs, kids, families, all that kind of stuff. They're not plugged in. They're not in it. And so sadly, they're influenced and they kind of trust the news and they trust what they hear about. Well, whenever the left has a monopoly on information, of course, it's going to be easy to sway the people who aren't super plugged in because that's all they hear.
Okay, so in Victoria's case though, because she knows about the French Laundry thing, it's just partisan shilling at that point.
Yeah, it's just being a bad person. I try not to like attribute motive or be like they're a bad person or they're this or they're that. But I mean, it comes to a point where I'm like, what else can this be? Like Victoria, like I said, I don't think she's dumb, which means I think she's genuinely a bad person. Like I think it's at a certain point they're either dumb or they're a bad person, or misinformed or they're a bad person. Well, I don't think she's dumb or misinformed. I think she's a bad person.
Okay, so she did one video that went pretty viral, and she knew that it was going to be controversial because she was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get in trouble," but she said conservatives don't care about people, and because they don't want to pay your college, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do this, and so I ended up stitching that. I think I found that like kind of way later. I put. And what she said, but they don't want to address systemic racism and other things like that. And so, she just, and I get that people think that from the surface level, and maybe conservatives have to do a better job saying like it's not that I don't want to have to pay free college. I mean, I don't want to have to do that, but think about someone. Let's say someone lived in the projects all their lives. They grew up. They started like a little side hustle, and it became something grand, and they can take care of their family, and they can do all this stuff, and they couldn't go to college because they were working their whole lives. Do you think it's fair for them to have to pay your college? Like, so if you put it in like terms like that where people can really relate to things, so maybe there's a messaging issue with conservatives, but to attribute that much motive to people to just say like they don't care about people. That's not why they save babies.
Yeah, ironically, the side that's murdering millions of babies has the audacity to stand on this moral high horse and say that we don't care about people. Yeah, hang on. Let's take a step back real quick.
This is to quote Andrew Klavan, when there's a scandal on the right, the news is a scandal. But when there's a scandal on the left, the news is how did that get out? It's also Republicans pounce. Like the news is about how Republicans are reacting to the scandal.
Yeah, there's nothing they can't spend. They will spend anything, man. I swear. They'll spend just about anything.
Okay, so this one's pretty fun. I don't know if you follow African Hippie.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm really bad with remembering names. If I saw the face, I'd be like, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so she's from Kenya, and she gets it from people all the time. She used to be like a BLM activist and other stuff like that, but she obviously switched, and so people call her all sorts of names and like they do me, but she probably gets it more because she's very open with her relationship with Hippocrates, who is a white man. So here we go.
I'm not upset with y'all because I know you're mentally ill, which is why one day I'm going to open up a hospital for mentally ill Africans. I'm going to hospitalize you coons because I care about you and I love you. You're part of our family. I cannot let you go and do what you want to do. I care about the coons, brothers and sisters. I care about the coons, brothers and sisters. We're going to open up a mental health rehabilitation hospital for political coonery. We are going to treat the coons, brothers and sisters. We can't leave them out there. We have to treat the coons. The Dr. Papa Mental Health Hospital for coons. We have to rehabilitate the coons, brothers and sisters. Let us save the coons. We have to do this. We have to do this.
I think her response is hilarious, but man, what in the world? What?
He says some interesting things sometimes, but a lot of them just like obviously can't get with. But Michael Eric Dyson also kind of believes in like we can rehabilitate rehabilitate people after I don't know how much you follow like the Bachelor's thing when Chris Harrison was like kicked off the show, and so he had to but what before they like fired him, he was like speaking to people like Michael Eric Dyson. He's the one who called Jordan Peterson a mean mad white man. Did you see that?
No, I did not see
Okay,
that.
so yeah, so he's a black professor activist sort of guy, and so yeah, he called Jordan Peterson a mean mad white man during their monk debate, and just the debate was I think about might have been like political correctness or something like that, and he just kept bringing race,
Mm-hmm.
and people are just kind of like, we're in Canada like having a discussion like the American sort of like systems, like it's not even like relevant right now, but that's what he was obsessed with. So he's like, so he brought up Jordan Peterson and tried to make it seem like how people try to cancel him, and how if he talks about it, then he is a, I don't know, overreacting, but it's like, but you guys try to cancel him all the time. And so he's like, you're doing well, man, but you're a mean man, white man. And so, yeah, that was pretty bio. But yeah, they believe in you can rehabilitate people, and I'm just like, why can't you just let people be people, have their own thoughts, and not have to put people in such identity groups? Like, I don't know. People want us to be in a more racial world, and the people who want to fight racism are the one who want to make it more racist.
Well, you know, there's I think he's on TikTok. He may be somewhere else, but there's a guy who his page is it's him and a buddy, and they stand there, and one of them is labeled racist, and the other one is labeled social justice warrior, and they just keep agreeing on stuff. Like the social justice warrior will be like, oh, we need to have separate this and separate that, and you know, the racist guy's like, oh yeah, and it's funny, but it's like, man, that's literally what this is. Like the people who are social justice warriors are literally promoting racism. That they're just straight up promoting racism, and people are actually okay, like agreeing with them. And I'm thinking, whoa, where did y'all get off the track? Because this is not the right direction. Like you don't fix racism by being racist. That's very counterintuitive.
Yeah, with like critical race theory, I mean, they believe that racism is normal. That is a system. White people really can't fix it because it benefits them. So why would they, even if unconsciously they can't do it? And then, but they don't like color blindness. They criticize the civil rights movement for like the integration stuff, like Derek Bell, part of the founders of it. So it's like they don't want us to be integrated. They don't want us to live in a post-racial world where we don't see color. And that doesn't mean I ignore that people are Asian or black or whatever. It just means that we're going to stop like attributing motive to or, you know, or just assuming things because of someone's color. And they don't like that. And then why they try to assimilate white people into having a white identity. There is a poll that by Pew Research, and they were doing different races to see who identified as their race being part of their identity. And so no shock there, black people was the highest. And then it was like Hispanics, and then it was Asians. But the lowest was white people, like 15%. And so you got like white fragility and all these kind of other people who are trying to make white people have some sort of national identity. When there's people who identify as Irish American or Italian American, but they don't go. I mean, people say they're white, I guess, but people there's no collective whiteness.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, how do you blame white people for having this collective identity that the white people don't have? Like they themselves aren't claiming that. They're not clinging to being like, I'm a white yada yada. They're just like, oh, I'm an American, you know, I might be Irish or I might be German. But I've never met anybody. Now I'm sure that there's some like isolated weirdos out there. I've never met anybody who's like, I'm a white American. Like, okay. Like you just don't really run into them. But if you listen to the left and NPR and all these different, you know, pundits and stuff, you'd think that there's this massive group of invisible racist white people that are like these white supremacist, white nationalist people that are just they have all the systems, they have all of the, you know, everything is going. It's like they're the biggest conspiracy theorists in the world with all this stuff. They think that everything is racist, even though all the systems and institutions that they claim are racist and run by, well, they're all run by Democrats. Hollywood, Democrat. All these big cities, Democrat. I mean, at what point do you realize maybe you're the issue? Maybe it's the Democrat politicians that are the issue, and you're just trying to pawn it off on other people. I don't know.
Yeah, I was looking back at a video that happened in 2016. I was asked to when Mike Pence was first announced as a VP candidate, he went to Novi, Michigan, and so I was asked to sing the national anthem, and my dad did the opening prayer. And so we don't have a recording of it because my family came late and the news didn't record it, so there's that. But
That's a shame.
but I did get to do it a second time at a Trump rally, which was really cool.
Wow.
And so when my family did come, the news ended up interviewing one of my sisters, and so when we watched the news back, they were talking about the rally and the diversity in it, and they're like, they are evolving, but they were talking about how it was mostly white people, but the newscaster referred to it as it was overwhelmingly white.
Wow.
And I just thought it was so funny because I'm like, I've never gone to a place and been like, I'm overwhelmed by all the white people. Like you might go, oh, there's a lot of white people here, but dude, are you overwhelmed?
It's just overwhelming.
It's just overwhelmingly white. And it was so funny. But they did play what my sister said on the news in like another like black person. But it was so funny to me. But I was surprised going there how diverse it was there and how many young people were there.
Mm-hmm.
But they always wanted to paint it like they were just vanilla. That's how the media resented it when it wasn't vanilla.
Yeah.
I think Tamara, she was on MSNBC. She has her own show now. But when she was a reporter, they went to someone. They're like, we're gonna go to someone at the Trump rally, and it was a black guy, and he was talking to a white person. And he's like, we just sitting here, and I'm talking with my friend here, and they wanted someone to be talking about the David Duke like controversy. No, he's like, don't nobody care about no David Duke. Me and my friend, we just here having a good time. And then they went back to the news anchor, and she was so mad, and she's just like, just to be clear, most of the people who go to these rallies are white, and for some reason that's just that's what they chose. And I'm like, can you have any sort of chill? She had no chill. It was the most ridiculous thing that I've seen in 2016. That's
crazy world out there, no question.
Okay, so here's another video. Now this one is this is actually from my sister. I know you sometimes do religious content, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a big debate about like worship songs in the church today. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to get your take on it.
You know, something I don't understand about a lot of Christians nowadays, especially on this app, is how they'll complain about modern worship music. They'll say it's too self-involved, it's too much about you, it's too much about the me, God, me, and then they'll bring up songs like Oceans or No Longer Slaves, which are both songs dealing with God delivering people from fear and thanking God for delivering them from fear. In this day and age of the panoramic, you don't think people need to know that God is bigger than their fear? There's been people trapped inside their homes for a full year because they're afraid of the panoramic, and I'm not here to speak on the panoramic, but there have been people that have been so overwhelmed with fear that they have literally not seen any of their family members. You guys, it's so important to really fully grasp that God can deliver you from your fear, from your anxiety, from the things that keep you from doing His work and speaking His word. It's so vitally important to know that God can deliver you from that. Not to say that God's just gonna like magically make you to an Avenger one day and you just go, but like, oh, I'm just gonna punch Satan in the face or something. No, it's not like that. But to know that God can give you a peace that passes all understanding, that's what those songs are about. It's about, God, I realize the situation is tough, but you are bigger than that, and I thank you for getting me past this fear, this block that's been in front of me, so I can do your work and do your will, so I'm praising you for it. And I just don't understand people that think worship music is supposed to be, oh, holy, 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 holy all the time. Have you not read Psalms? Have you not read Psalms at all? You know where a lot of our worship music comes from? The book of Psalms. You know what a lot of that was about? David talking about his personal situations and thanking God for delivering him from them. Yes, there are other authors in Psalms, I'm aware of that. But a lot of what we sing about is from David's perspective of loving God's word and standing on His word in the tough times in his life, when people literally wanted to chop off his head and kill his entire family line. Sounds pretty personal to me. A lot more personal than just asking God to deliver you from fear. Maybe you just don't like the aesthetic. Okay, I can get that. Maybe you don't like the way it sounds. I can get that. But thinking songs like Oceans and No Longer Slaves are unbiblical or too personal, that's just not accurate. It's not.
Thoughts?
Well, I think this happens a lot, and people will find something to be upset about in the best of things, whether it's worship music that they decide that they don't like or things like that. I think generally that's a bad practice to be the person who's gatekeeping something that's having a good positive effect. Like if you're going to find issue with Oceans or a song that's talking about not having fear and all that kind of stuff, what are you doing? Like, to me, I've never been a big fan of the gatekeeping, and that does happen. I mean, Christians will, a lot of times, they'll just attack a song for one word. It'll have one little word wrong or what they think is wrong, right? And they're like, oh, that song's of the devil. Well, I don't really think so. You know, maybe it's not your style. That's fine. Maybe you don't particularly like the beat or the rhythm, or that's fine. But it doesn't have to be, painted in this picture as if it's like sacrilegious or if it's not like proper worship. I mean, so I think I think what she was saying was totally right on.
Okay. I have noticed like the trend, and I know some people just don't like the church, and I guess I understand that, but I really like that song. I sing it, and I enter in, people enter in, and we have a great time when we do it. So Tina, she's had like a remarkable sort of journey herself. So, and she's had to deal with a lot of anxieties and depressions and other stuff like that. So, we used to have just like worship services we were having them like every night when she was like in high school, I think, like every Sunday, not every night, but every like Sunday night for like a long time. And so my dad would just be like, you guys are having it again? We're like, yep, I feel like we should have it again. And so she testified years later, because she used to be anorexic, and she like hid it from the family. Like she would eat, like we noticed she was getting smaller, obviously, but she would like eat in front of us to just a little bit to make it seem like, but then she would be starving herself in like school and other places like that. And so she admitted that years later that those times when we had worship service, like those were like helping to like restore her and minister to her. And I'm just like, I had no idea that doing something like that was helping someone so close to me. So I don't know. I feel like if it's ministering to you, like if words are, there are some songs that are stupid and unbiblical, like for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't like the gatekeeping.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of gatekeeping. Whether it's, Christians do it, people in politics do it, and I think this is what I try and tell people every now and again is it's rare for someone to grasp what's called the 80-20 rule. If you agree with 80%, there's always going to be 20% that you're not going to agree with. That doesn't mean it's the devil. That doesn't mean it's the worst thing in the world. Like politically, it's a great example. You and I probably could find, if we really sat down and hashed it out, some stuff we disagree on. But I'm not going to focus so much on that little bit of stuff that we disagree on to the point where I'm like, oh, she's terrible. She's the worst thing in the world, even though we agree on 80% of things, right? The 80-20 rule. And there's so many people that get caught up on the 20% and they start gatekeeping and they start attacking and they start doing this and that. There's no purpose of that. Focus on the 80% that you agree with them on, the net good, yada, yada, yada. I think that's super important for people to grasp.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's some people mad at Larry Elder because he said that he believed that Joe Biden won fairly, and so I saw people who are my friends came out and said that they thought he was lying and pandering, and I'm just like, what if he just believes it? I'm like, he could be wrong, but what if he just believes it? So it just threw me a loop. So I went and I watched that entire video, and I'm like, it seemed like if that was his way out, he certainly talked about other things in length that are much more controversial, I think. So I didn't think that was the case. I'm like, it could just be his legitimate opinion. I think fair can have a lot of different definitions, which we got into earlier. So I just thought it was amazing that there's people like, I don't want to vote for him anymore. I'm like, that's where you're drawing the line.
Well, you gotta, if you happen to be listening, right, and you're one of those people that's, because maybe this might be, like I said, one of those things that we would a little bit disagree, you and I, on. But Larry, I wasn't happy when I heard that. In fact, I said, what? I said, come on, Larry. Like, what do you do? You think it was fair? I said, come on. But what you got to do is you got to do a little bit of a cost-benefit analysis. When you're looking at the bigger picture of things, do you want Gavin Newsom as governor of California? Would Larry Elder be a better, a more preferable governor of California? Yes, Larry Elder, even though I disagree with him, I think it was absolutely a fraudulent election. I'll say it till the day I die. I 110% believe deep down in my bones that that was a fraudulent election, and I disagree with Larry Elder on that. But would I rather see him in office than Gavin Newsom? Yes, even in spite of that. It's California. We're not going to have Donald Trump or Ronald Reagan 2.0 sashay into the governor's office in California. But if it's Larry Elder, that's a lot better than Gavin Newsom. Do I like everything about Elder? No. But would I prefer him to Newsom? Yes.
I thought, I was just interested in what you said to that, because I'm just amazed by the amount of people who are like, we're done here. I'm just like, because there's so many people I know in respect who believe both things, professionals in the industry who believe both things. I'm just like, some people just aren't going to see it that way. So and you can believe all you want with it, but it's not in our platform. You have to believe in election fraud, So that just really blew my mind. He said something else that was, I know people thought was pretty controversial, and I guess it's controversial to me. But he said that about he said the comment about he believed that if you were transition long enough and you took whatever, you could go to the whatever bathroom. But people have to understand, he is a libertarian. Like when he was on Dave Rubin's show, he identified, like, he doesn't find anything wrong with the conservative label, but he is more of a libertarian. And he described, like, I think Dave asked him what was the difference to him. But he said, I believe conservatives will legislate things they don't like. And I'm like, I think that's kind of fair. I think that's kind of fair assessment. But once upon a time ago, we did not talk about people going to bathrooms. That started in like 2014 with Obama. Their DOJ wanting to like push things with the with trans women, trans men, and stuff. And so then the city of Charlotte put out a city ordinance saying that you had to let whoever into your bathrooms. And then that ended up going up to like the governor, them trying to stop that, and people started boycotting all the other kind of stuff. And that's when it became a huge national conversation. Mm-hmm. If I could have a little leeway and maybe interpret, I guess, what his answer was, I would assume if you can get away with it, then nobody needs to be none the wiser, is what I would assume is probably his position. And I would prefer if everyone just went whatever their, chromosomes dictate. But if you're going to
the right bathroom,
to go in, if you're going to go in, I'd rather be none the wiser. Like,
I mean, I guess,
I'd rather not. I'd rather not.
I'd prefer you use the right one. You know.
He's just not someone who would legislate it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He's just someone who wouldn't do that. So that's where I think his position is probably coming from. Because he doesn't even like. I mean, if you're talking about things he's willing to be controversial over, they talk about like Goldwater and the Voting Rights Act and stuff. And he'll defend him and say he made the right decision. So
interesting.
Yeah, he's I mean, he does debates for the Libertarian Party and stuff. So he's
interesting. Definitely interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so I got another. I'm sure you've seen this one.
One sec. Democracy's calling. See you, Daddy. Bye.
Hi, my name is Cooper, and this is a day in my life as a White House intern.
We did a joke. Hey, everyone. Vogue.
Usually I start off with a big coffee. Sorry, they're like really strict in here.
Hey, Jenny. I booked you a nail appointment, love.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to do that.
It's called Initiative. Hi, White House. This is Cooper. I don't think so. Oh, doesn't matter.
This is actually the entrance to the West Wing. This is so fun and it's really prestigious.
Hey, POTUS. Is Olivia Rodrigo still here?
No. We've come a long way in our fight against this virus. We've vaccinated 160 million Americans. Are you getting this all down?
Don't worry, Queen. It's all right here.
Cooper.
Sorry, Miss Jen. And Jen, don't forget to have fun. Spirit fingers, Mama. We need to get shots in the arms of every single American. I'm heading to a haircut.
Comment if you want me to make more of these.
What?
I don't know who he is actually, and apparently he has a really big account, but
I'd never heard of him, but I know that was hard to watch. The first time I watched that, I was like, no way. You're not, this is a joke, right? Like, this isn't the real White House. No, it was actually the,
and then Jen, her bad acting playing along.
Mm-hmm.
I did see someone do a reply to that, mocking that and being like, I'm a real intern for Congress. And they were like doing actual work. So.
Yeah, not just doing lispy, weird actions. I don't know. I thought that was no, I wasn't a fan of that video. I was like, man, for real.
No, I our White House is weird, bruh.
Yes, it is.
I don't know, but you know, they acted like Trump was like the celebrity president and like he only cared about reality stuff. But you had like Obama going on Bear Grylls. I'm like, okay, either the show isn't legit or this is a huge national security risk. And so, and they're on late night all the time. And I don't know. It's like they wanted to be him. They resented the fact that he had so much fame and they wanted that fame.
Yep.
While celebrities want to get in politics, it's so weird to me.
It's very strange. Very strange. Trump was what they want to be, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I know you got to get going.
I do.
But I was glad to have you on tonight, and like I said, I'm glad we have some youngins with their head on straight to fight back against these youngins who are indoctrinating these big masses with their big followings and so on. But you're doing good work out there. Obviously, people can follow you on TikTok and YouTube, and DatBoiVictor is your handle. Is there anywhere else where people can find you?
No, not really. It's mostly just TikTok. I have Instagram as well. Instagram is DatBoiVictor_official. So basically the same. I think it'll pop up if you just do DatBoiVictor. But I really do. I appreciate you having me on here. I really like your stuff. And man, this is awesome. I got to figure out how you do all that, where you put the overlays and all that kind of stuff, because I can't do any of that. But this is awesome. I really appreciate you having me on.
Okay, I'll let you go.
All right, take care. Have a good one. God bless.
Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight on the show. Please visit blacktnews.com. I got a really good article on critical race theory. I think you guys should absolutely share that around. It talks about how they're really gaslighting people and trying to say that it's not in our schools. It absolutely is in our schools. And actually, I got to do a TikTok. Actually, I get off of here because one of the founders of critical race theory, she was on the Joy Reid show on MSNBC, claiming that it wasn't in school. She's like, well, if it was in schools, I would know it. But now she's like doing some kind of seminar or something where they're explaining how they have it in schools. So these people are so blatantly dishonest, and I'll have to, post that on my site and stuff too. But yeah, but please share that article around. It's something that they don't want your kids to understand all the tenets, but they definitely want them to live by it. And it's not just in the schools; it's in the things that they watch, television. It's in the things that they read. It's just absolutely everywhere. It's in our government, not just with our politicians, but our military. In so many different places. And I do have examples in the article, so please go check that out and share it around. Please go check out different merchandise that I have. I'm wearing this hoodie. It's so comfortable, but you can also get it in t-shirts. It is in different colors. The GOAT, that stands for greatest of all time. Not everyone realizes that, so I guess I got to say it, but greatest of all time. You can get that. I got this denounce white supremacy, defeat Joe Biden shirt. You are not the victim. I'm not the victim you're looking for. Be better, not bitter. I love this shirt. And you can get different mugs with my stuff on it. We got these you are not the victim. You are not the special mug. And I got that in a shirt as well. So please check out the different merchandise. And if you liked this broadcast, if you like what I'm doing with Black Teen News, please make sure that you guys go to the website and please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. You can do that via the site. Anything that you guys can do, whether it's giving a donation, whether it's buying some merchandise, or if it's just liking and sharing and letting other people know and getting the word out, I greatly appreciate it. And you guys have a great night. We're going to be back again next Saturday with an amazing guest as well. But make sure that you catch me throughout the week doing things on the daily news. There's a lot that we're going to have to talk about on Monday. So make sure that you guys are not only subscribe to the YouTube channel, but that you guys hit the notification bells and that you guys are liking the Facebook page and you're following the Facebook page. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Black T News, Facebook's at Black T News, YouTube's at Black T News, TikTok is at Black T News. I'm on TikTok like every day posting something. The only handle I have that is a little bit different is Twitter, and that is at True Black Tea. So thank you guys so much. God bless you, and I will see you next time.